Welcome back to Crime Scene 24/7. To our returning subscribers, thank you for always engaging. Your likes, comments, and shares keeps us motivated. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our chilling crime scenes. Here we dig deep, we investigate hard, and we bring you stories the mainstream left unsaid. So encourage us by engaging in our videos. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, and share. And what investigators discovered about the man behind the trigger stunned even detectives. It was just past 1 a.m. on Sunday, August 25, 2024, in a quiet cul-de-sac of the Lake Linganore community in Newmarket, Frederick County, Maryland. The stillness of the night would be shattered forever. Crimea Malita Baker, age 33, and her partner, Antoine Lange, age 34, lay together in an upstairs bedroom of their home on the 7,000 block of Mandalon Court, until a barrage of gunfire erupted into their lives. The killer, the husband who once loved her, the father of 3 of her 4 children, David Phillip Turner, 33 years old, of Miami, Florida. He is accused of driving hundreds of miles from Florida to Maryland, breaking in through a back door and firing more than 40 rounds at his ex-wife and her boyfriend, while 4 young children watched and hid inside the home. Those children, ages all 13 or younger, were inside the house when the attack happened. They were uninjured, but their innocence was stolen in an instant. Detectives described the crime as a heinous, targeted double murder, a crime of rage and anger. As the sun rose on August 25, Baker and Lange were found dead. Their home became a crime scene. Shell casings littered the room. More than 40 rounds were reported fired. Turner's arrest came on September 28, 2024, on a beach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, after law enforcement from Maryland and Florida, including the FBI, pursued leads linking him to the vehicle, the apartment, and ultimately his whereabouts. After extradition, the Frederick County State's Attorney's Office confirmed Turner, now age 34, would be held without bond as of December 19, 2024. He now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder, home invasion, and firearms charges. And yet, the motive remains officially unknown. The questions about why this man drove from Florida to Maryland, how he planned the entry, how he accessed the home, linger unanswered. Investigators say there was no known recent contact between Turner and Baker before the attack. Today, we will take you behind the timeline, the victims, the suspect, the investigation, and the fragile lives of 4 young children now trying to piece together a world forever changed. And what investigators discovered about the man behind the trigger stunned even detectives. The early hours punctured the boundary between safety and horror. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on August 25, 2024, the interior of the home on the 7,000 block of Mandalon Court in the Lake Linganore community was abruptly transformed. David Phillip Turner, then 33, had traveled to Maryland and, authorities would later say, entered through the back door of his ex-wife's residence. Inside, in the upstairs bedroom, lay Crimea Malita Baker, age 33, and Antoine Lange, age 34, together in a moment that would freeze forever in time. Over 42 rounds were fired at very close range. Meanwhile, 4 children, all 13 or younger, lay hidden elsewhere in the house, untouched physically, but forever marked psychologically. The father of 3 of the kids was Turner. The father of the 4th was Lange. Investigators found shell casings strewn across the scene of the bedroom. The sheer number of rounds, the intimate setting, the presence of children. In the words of Chuck Jenkins, sheriff of Frederick County, this is the type of crime that shocks the conscience of everyone in Frederick County. Within weeks, Turner was located on a beach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and taken into custody on September 28, 2024. He was extradited and ordered held without bond on December 19, 2024 in Maryland. The family of Crimea Baker described her as a beloved mother of four, living a life built on hope and resilience, and now forever ruptured. The children, one mother gone, one father now behind bars, their home a crime scene, their world upended.
In the days that followed the killings of Crimea Malita Baker and Antoine Lange, investigators from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation pieced together a trail of clues that drew a straight line back to David Phillip Turner, beginning in Miami, crossing state lines, and ending on a sunlit Florida beach nearly 5 weeks after the crime. According to publicly released reports, Turner had driven from his home in Miami, Florida, nearly 600 miles to the Lake Linganore community in New Market, Maryland, arriving in the early morning hours of August 25, 2024. Investigators say he accessed the Mandalong Court residence through a rear door, contrary to the notion of any spontaneous act, and confronted the victims upstairs. Once inside, forensic teams found upwards of 42 shell casings scattered across the bedroom floor and closet area, suggesting rapid fire at very close range. The layout of the house and the pattern of spent rounds indicated that Turner remained inside the room until the final discharge of his weapon, and that the four children, aged 13 and under, had hidden in other rooms for hours, emerging only after daylight and fear had briefly loosened its grip. Even before his arrest, law enforcement obtained search warrants for Turner's apartment and vehicle in Florida. The warrants revealed cell phone ping data, placing his phone in Maryland around the time of the murders, and receipts showing a rental car in his name. The FBI joined the investigation, working across state lines to secure evidence, issue warrants, and coordinate with Florida authorities. On September 28, 2024, Turner was located and arrested at approximately 6 p.m. on a beach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He had flown or traveled back to Florida after the crime and was taken into custody without incident. According to the arresting agency, he waived his extradition hearing and was flown to Maryland. By December 19, 2024, in the Frederick County Circuit Court, Judge Eric Schaefer ordered Turner, now age 34, to be held without bond as formal charges of first-degree murder, home invasion, and firearm use were filed by the Frederick County State Attorney's Office. The trial date has since been set for March 2026. Beyond the forensic and procedural details lies the deeper story. The lives never restored, the four children robbed of the only mother they had known, and the community forced to reckon with how protective walls were breached in the quiet of the night. Turner's actions cracked the veneer of safety for those children. The long months of investigation only underscored the scale of the rupture. The story of Crimea Malita Baker and Antoine Lange draws not only from the facts of that night, but from the lives that preceded it, lives of hope, transformation, and quiet strength. Baker, 33, was a woman whose friends and family described her as a devoted mother of four. Among her passions was coaching youth track and cross-country, helping children with autism, and sharing a love of travel and cultural exploration. Lange, 34, shared life with her in the Lake Linganore community in New Market, Maryland. Though not the father of all the children, he was father to one of them, and the pair were building a blended family together. On the other side stood David Phillip Turner, 33, formerly married to Baker and father to three of the children now in family care. Public records indicate he lived in Miami, Florida, and at the time of his arrest was employed in IT. But very little in the public record reveals the pressures or conflicts that may have preceded his decision to travel hundreds of miles and carry out what investigators described as a planned attack. The official statements note no documented contact between Turner and Baker in the hours before the killing. For Baker and Lange, the home on the 7,000 block of Mandalong Court was a place of hope. Photos from the family show laughter with children, track and field medals, and the promise of a new chapter. For Turner, that distance he drove from Miami to Maryland, roughly 600 miles, marked the physical span of a decision the rest of the family would never fully understand. In the weeks leading to the crime, investigators traced his path: the rental car, the cell phone pings, the search warrants in Florida and Maryland. But very little in the public record reveals the pressures or conflicts that may have preceded his decision to travel hundreds of miles and carry out what investigators described as a planned attack. In the weeks leading to the crime, investigators traced his path: the rental car, the cell phone pings, the search warrants in Florida and Maryland. But the human dimension remains. Baker's children, some of them toddlers, moved in with family members. As the community around Lake Linganore grappled with the loss of a mother, they also witnessed the enduring vulnerability of children shielded briefly from horror in their own home. As the case against David Phillip Turner moved forward, the courtroom saga began to unfold with its own rhythm of delays and legal maneuvering. On July 28, 2025, his trial, originally scheduled sooner, was officially postponed, leaving the 4 children of Crimea Malita Baker and Antoine Lange in limbo, the living memory of their mother and father frozen in a single night. The paperwork filed in Frederick County revealed Turner is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the August 25, 2024 slayings inside the Mandalong court home, as well as counts of home invasion and use of a firearm in a crime of violence. As attorneys for Turner scrambled through discovery and motions, the prosecutors took time to prepare for what they described publicly as one of the most complex domestic homicide cases in county history. Community legal observers noted the delay indicates heavy reliance on digital forensics, cross-state coordination, and intricate evidentiary issues. For the 4 children, 3 of whom were Turner's own and 1 Lange's, the legal pause meant weeks and months of suspended grief. Family and advocates emphasized that the courtroom proceedings did not heal the loss, but laid bare the long road of accountability ahead. As the calendar flipped toward March 2026, the date currently set for trial, the community braced itself. The courtroom would not just determine Turner's fate, but also send a message about safety, domestic violence, and the rights of children left behind. What the jury would see and what the law would demand were now capped by a timeline and by the silent question, can justice ever undo the night of August 25th? In the days after the tragedy, the quiet of the Lake Linganore community in Newmarket, Maryland, shifted into a somber vigil. Neighbors, local leaders, and extended family gathered not just to mourn the loss of Crimea Malita Baker and Antoine Lange, but to embrace the 4 children whose lives had been turned irreversibly. The children, ages 13 and under, had hidden in other rooms of the home during the early morning attack. They emerged afterward into a world unrecognizable. Family members described Crimea as a fiercely loving mother, a mentor to youth athletes, and someone who lived to teach others how to fly, to borrow one tribute. Lange was remembered as a devoted partner and father, stepping into a blended family with both courage and care. The void left behind is deep and raw. Local authorities and victim support advocates mobilized quickly to ensure the children were placed under the care of relatives and to provide trauma-informed resources to help them cope. Meanwhile, the wider neighborhood grappled with the fact that a silent, armed act of violence had occurred behind closed doors. A press release from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office emphasized that while this was understood to be a targeted murder, the public at large faced no lasting threat. But the personal threat to this family and their home was profound. At local memorial events held in late August and early September, participants spoke of the need to hold the children in light and to let Crimea's legacy be that no child in our community feels unsafe in their own home. These gatherings, though quiet and grief-laden, sparked the beginnings of conversations about domestic violence, gun safety, parental responsibility, and the long-term trauma born of sudden loss. Through it all, the image of smiling children, the ones who fled to safety that early morning, hovered in the minds of all who knew the story. Their innocence remains intact physically, but innocence alone cannot heal all the wounds. The community's pledge became clear: to stand beside them, bearing both witness and responsibility. In the months following the August 25, 2024 killings of Crimea Malita Baker, 33, and Antoine Lange, 34, the trauma left inside their family, most notably the 4 children, all aged 13 or younger, continued to unfold. According to the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, those children hid inside the home for hours until daylight and believed the danger had passed before emerging. Local child welfare and social services agencies intervened rapidly. One neighboring therapist spoke publicly of the trauma they must have witnessed and experienced, saying children hiding for hours in their home while their mother and her partner were killed is an experience no child should ever endure. The community around Lake Linganore, Maryland, typically quiet, suburban, and insulated, found itself grappling with the fact that such an act of violence happened in their midst. As the sheriff put it, this is the type of crime that shocks the conscience of Frederick County residents. At the same time, investigators emphasized there was no ongoing public threat, yet for the children and extended family, the world had fundamentally shifted. The home they had known was now a crime scene, and the adults they relied on were gone or behind bars, their grief complicated by the legal processes still to come. As we look ahead to the trial in March 2026, the long-term cost of this night on those children, the nights of nightmares, the days without their mother, the uncertainty of a father in custody will form a central part of this narrative.
Months after the tragedy, the story of Crimea Malita Baker and Antoine Lange continues to echo through Maryland courtrooms, classrooms, and living rooms. In Lake Linganore, neighbors still place fresh flowers along Mandalong Court, a quiet reminder that the heartbreak of August 25, 2024 is not forgotten. Community organizations have since rallied behind Baker's surviving children, organizing fundraisers and awareness campaigns aimed at strengthening domestic violence prevention and mental health resources in Frederick County. Teachers, pastors, and social workers have stepped into new roles, helping the children reclaim fragments of normalcy. Local advocates note that their progress is slow but visible, the kind of resilience that can only come from love and from the strength of a community unwilling to look away. As Turner awaits trial in March 2026, that same community continues to seek justice, not out of vengeance, but out of devotion to the lives that were lost. Each court hearing draws quiet crowds of family members and supporters who want the world to remember that Crimea and Sean were more than victims. They were parents, mentors, and friends whose absence still leaves an emptiness no sentence can fill. And while the legal process marches forward, the call grows louder. To talk openly about warning signs, to support survivors before tragedy strikes, and to stand against cycles of rage that destroy families. This case has become a rallying point, not just for Maryland, but for every community confronting the hidden weight of domestic violence. So, as we close this chapter, let their story remind us: silence protects no one. If you've been moved by this story, we invite you to subscribe to Crime Scene 24/7, where real stories meet real justice. Like, comment, and share this video to keep their voices alive and to help bring awareness to the families still searching for peace. Because every view, every share, every word spoken in remembrance brings us one step closer to preventing the next tragedy.